There is a quiet mystery in the way the heart remembers, especially when it remembers people who caused us pain, because logic would suggest that hurt should push us away, that memory should sharpen into a warning. Yet so often it softens instead, becoming something tender and confusing, like a bruise that aches not just with pain, but with longing. We miss people who hurt us because the mind does not store experiences in neat boxes labeled good and bad. It stores them as feelings layered on top of one another, warmth tangled with sadness, laughter sitting beside disappointment. And when time passes, the sharper edges often fade first. What remains is the emotional imprint, the echo of closeness, the familiarity of a voice, the comfort of having been seen, even if that seeing was imperfect or conditional. The brain is especially good at this kind of selective remembering, quietly editing the past while we sleep, trimming away the moments that cut deepest, and replaying the scenes that felt alive, because the brain's first job is not justice or accuracy, but survival and regulation, and familiar bonds, even painful ones, once served a purpose. There is comfort in what is known, and the nervous system often prefers a known pain to an unknown peace, because at least the pain has a shape, a rhythm, a predictable pattern that the body learned how to endure. We also miss people who hurt us because human connection leaves a chemical trace, a soft dependency formed by shared moments, by touch, by words exchanged late at night, by routines that once felt ordinary and now feel strangely empty. When someone was woven into the small details of our days, their absence creates a hollow space that the mind keeps reaching toward, not because the person was kind, but because they were there. That reaching can feel like missing them, when in truth it is often missing the version of ourselves that existed in their presence, the way we laughed more easily, the way we felt chosen, at least some of the time, the way the world felt fuller simply because it was shared. Even painful relationships usually contain moments of intensity and closeness, and intensity has a way of imprinting itself deeply, making the bond feel meaningful even when it was damaging. The highs and lows create a kind of emotional turbulence that the brain can mistake for depth, for passion, for something rare and irreplaceable. And when it is gone, the calm that follows can feel unsettling, almost empty, like silence after a storm. There is also the quiet hope that lingers, often unnoticed, the hope that maybe the pain was temporary, that maybe the person could have changed, that maybe the ending does not fully define the story. Missing someone can be a way of holding on to that hope without having to consciously admit it, because admitting it would require facing the reality that the hope may never be fulfilled. The mind drifts back to earlier versions of the relationship, to the beginning when things felt lighter, when the hurt had not yet settled in, and it asks gentle, unanswerable questions in the dark, wondering what might have been different. This is not weakness, it is a natural response to attachment, because attachment does not dissolve simply because we decide it should. It fades slowly, like a tide pulling back grain by grain, and along the way, it leaves behind moments where longing rises without permission. We miss people who hurt us because pain does not cancel meaning, and the heart is not a courtroom handing out verdicts. It is more like an old house filled with rooms we once lived in. Even if a room became uncomfortable, even if it held arguments and tears, it still holds memories of warmth, of belonging, of a time when we rested there. When we feel lonely or tired or vulnerable, the mind wanders back to those rooms, not to relive the hurt, but to feel less alone, because at one point, someone else occupied that space with us. And sometimes the hurt itself binds us, because suffering shared or endured in a relationship can create a sense of intimacy, a feeling that the person knows us in a way others do not, simply because they were present during our most fragile moments. There is a quiet kindness we can offer ourselves when these feelings arise, a permission to acknowledge that missing someone does not mean forgetting why we had to let them go. Both truths can exist at the same time, braided together like night and dawn. You can miss the sound of their laughter and still know that their words wounded you.
You can long for the closeness and still choose distance. The heart moves more slowly than the mind, and it learns through repetition and time, not through sudden realizations. Missing someone who hurt you is not a sign that you were wrong to leave or that the pain was imagined. It is simply evidence that you are human, that you formed a bond, that your inner world does not shut off on command. As the days pass, the missing often changes shape, becoming less sharp, more like a distant ache than a pull. And eventually, it may transform into a quiet understanding, a soft acceptance that this person was part of your story, but not meant to stay. Until then, the longing may come and go like a slow wave, rising when you are tired, when the world is quiet, when your defenses are down. And in those moments, it can help to remember that missing is not an instruction. It is just a feeling passing through. It does not demand action, only acknowledgement. And slowly, gently, without force, the heart learns new rhythms, new sources of comfort, and new ways of feeling safe. Until one day you notice that the memory no longer hurts the way it used to, and the missing has softened into something like understanding, or maybe even gratitude, not for the pain, but for the clarity it eventually brought.